Good afternoon, everyone. Well, we got a lively crowd here today. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. I'm Charles McClymonds, club president, and it's great to have such a full room here today. Lovely spring day, right? So good to have you all out. Today's meeting is being sponsored by Ashley Quinto-Powell and My VA Rocks. Ashley's been a member of our Rotary Club for 5 years. She chairs our member engagement committee and also serves on our club's program committee. She was also just elected to the foundation. She is the owner of My VA Rocks, and she's also a national speaker and author of the book, Executive Motherhood. Ashley and her team of 50 VAs help clients accomplish more and do less. Let's thank Ashley for sponsoring today's meeting. Please remain standing for our opening patriotic song. Susie Drazen will lead us in singing My Country 'Tis of Thee with Casey Oakers on the keyboard.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Thank you, Susie and Casey. Please be seated. And today's guest will be introduced by past President Dave Uranowski.
Thanks, Charles. It's my pleasure to welcome all of our guests today. My pleasure to welcome our guests and visitors on behalf of the club. If we could have you stand as your name is announced and remain standing so we can welcome you as a group, we'd appreciate it. Helen Bryan is a guest of Al Bryan. Jordan Bright, a guest of Amanda Jabs. Angela Titus has two guests, Kate Easton and Colleen Lease. Ann Lucky as a guest, Harvey Barash. Joy Pontrello and Creighton Quinto are guests of Ashley Quinto-Powell. Amy Williamson, guest of Brian Baskin. Steve O'Brien, guest of Connor Moran. The Goodman Committee has a number of guests, Michelle Borovec, Michelle Herring, Mary Roth, and Mindy Vinge. Paul Higginbotham is a guest of Joe Lanus. Lynn Heslinger, a guest of Kirsten Houghton. Kevin Mering, guest of Laura Gallagher. Luann Coella, guest of Maggie Porter Kratz. Megs Lund, guest of Michelle McGrath. Ann Slattery is a guest of the program committee. Angie Christensen, guest of Rhonda Adams. We have three Rotaract students with us today, Rotaract advisory students. Ben Nelson, Maya O'Rourke, and Camber Walvort. Brian Woodhouse, a guest of Tammy Thayer. George Beesman, guest of Donna Beesman. And Morris Waxler, a guest of Lou Harned. We also have one visiting Rotarian from Milwaukee, John Ward. Please offer a warm Rotary welcome to our guests.
Special welcome to our Rotaract students. We're glad to have you here always, and to our district governor, Michelle McGrath, who's also here. So glad to have her here as well. It's an honor. Today's moment of gratitude will be provided by Neil Dindorf. Neil, come on up. Neil joined our club in 2015 and is past chair of our Second Century Fellowship Group. He will come forward and provide our moment of gratitude.
Thank you. Well, thank you, President Charles, and good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I'll admit when Pat asked me to do this a couple months ago. I said I'd only do it if TMJ is here to record my prepared remarks. So thank you to you all for being here today. No, but I'll admit that, I of course oblige and thought, sure, I can fit something in here under the, connect, grow, and serve framework or our 4-way test. But after reflecting, I came to realize Rotary to me over the years has means so much more, and I kept coming back to the same theme. And to them, for me, that theme is family. For me, as I'm sure most of you here, family is the utmost important thing to me. And I have a certain family member in the room. For those that you don't know, we have a very unique last name, Dindorf. There's one other Dindorf here that I think many of you know. He belts out a tune far better than I, but that's my dad, Bob Dindorf. So family is what brought me here, but more importantly, perhaps family is what led me to stay over my last 9 years of membership here. So we moved to Madison from Minnesota, go Vikings, in the mid-90s. Don't hate the Packers. I'm not one of those. That's true. Okay, I'll reach in pockets. But when we first moved here in the mid-90s, I think folks told my dad that Rotary is the best place to be to meet new folks, immerse yourself in the community, and so he joined. And since then, Rotary to me, or I shouldn't say since then, at that point, Rotary to me was a place where a publication magazine would show up on our coffee room table, sit there, and that's what I thought Rotary was. Well, little did I know how much was going on in the room here over the years. And so it led our family believe also that Dad could run for mayor since he bumped into somebody he knew just about everywhere we went. 9 times out of 10, we'd walk away asking how he knew that person. He said, well, they're a fellow Rotarian. And so, we had no idea what that meant, but of course, there's great importance here in the room that's been shared over the years. So I'm grateful to Rotary not only for accepting my dad and immersing him in the community here, but providing a chance each week, maybe once or twice a month, for me to simply have lunch with Dad and catch up with him. So thank you for that. I'm also particularly grateful for the Second Century Fellowship Group. As President Charles alluded to, I'm a past president of that, or past chair of that fellowship group. I got a shout out to Trey Sprinkman, Michelle McGrath, and TJ Blitz for starting that group many years ago. Also to Paul Renola, who started the recent Bring Your Child to Rotary Day, or Bring a Child to Rotary Day, as we've been doing the last several years. Arguably one of the more fun events, as we've had flying stuffed monkeys, a magician, yo-yo tricks, and things of the like. But it's been special to me since I've been able to bring my own 2 kids and immerse them to a degree in my own professional life. As much as Chris, my colleague, would like them not to be in the room with client meetings and such, at least I can bring them to a room like this and immerse them to a bunch of professional looking people. And I can't tell you how many times over the years or whether they said, well, Dad, remember that time at Rotary? And they have special memories. We bonded together. And now, much like I did growing up, we walk into a restaurant or away from a restaurant and kids will ask how I know that person. And now I'm the one saying, oh, they're a fellow Rotarian. Which leads me to my last point on why I've stayed, and that's thanks to you all in the room, my Rotary family. Much like my family at home, I see and interact with Rotarians every day, from Chris in the office to Rob working the penalty box at women's hockey games to Dave handing out the stat sheets at men's hockey or basketball games. You guys are everywhere, much like my family at home. Through participation on committees, fellowships, and programs, I've developed so many friendships and relationships over the years that it feels like one big happy family here. It's inspiring to sit around a table with you all here each week with everyone who is contributing to the community, not just here in Madison, but internationally as well. With everyone doing their part to make the world a better place to live. So thank you again, Dad, for bringing me here. And thank you to you all, my Rotary family, for convincing me to stay. Thank you.
And our thanks to the Dindorf family for being a part of the Rotary family. All right, Valerie Rank is president of Rotary Foundation and has an announcement for us.
Sorry, I'm short. I got to pull this down. So here's a couple of questions I have. How should one pick a guardian for their children? Who's going to be the next president? Are they going to raise taxes? Forgive student debt? Well, we can't answer all of these questions, but we can help with some or others you might have if you attend Estate Essentials with Virginia Bartelt next Tuesday, February 27th, or our 200 level session, Planning Opportunities in Your Legacy by Daryl Benke, Thursday, March 7th. Both are 5 to 6 p.m. at the Madison Club, followed by an hour of free apps and a drink. Please RSVP to the Rotary office. There's a flyer on your table if you need to take that because you have a failing memory like I do. And remember, as both Taylor Swift and Benjamin Franklin say, failing to plan is planning to fail.
Thanks, Valerie. We're glad to have our District Governor, Michelle McGrath, here today, and we know she's very busy. Jason Barron is helping her with this year's Rotary Tri-Con event, and Michelle has with her Megs Lunn as her guest today, and Megs is the new Rotary District 6250 Administrator, and she's going to come up and share something about the Rotary Tri-Con. Megs?
Thank you, President Charles. So again, I'm Megs Lam. I'm a Rotarian from District 3850 in the Philippines. I recently took the role of District 6250 Administrator starting July 1 under the leadership of Michelle McGrath. And it's a privilege to be here and share some exciting updates from our district. Firstly, we are excited to invite you to our upcoming Tri-Con event on April 18 and 20 at Green Bay. And Dr. Chris Carr from the Green Bay Packers will be kicking us off on Friday. Lots of other great keynote speakers throughout the weekend, as well as the breakout sessions. So details for registration will be on your table or at your table right now. And Michelle and I will also be around if you have any questions. Secondly, our aim in Rotary Public Image is to share compelling stories that inspire non-Rotarians to learn more about us and the impact that we do in the world. So please help us spread these stories, and you can find the link of our dispatch in the newsletter. We welcome article contributions on mental health and your other projects that you've been around or you've been involved, past or present. So I appreciate the chance to speak with you here today. Thank you to Governor Michelle, to President Charles, to Pat for being here, and let's continue to be catalysts of hope to each other. God bless everybody.
Thank you, Megs. I do encourage everyone to consider going to Tri-Con, support Jason, our District Governor Michelle, and Neil, if you go, you can have a tour of Lambeau Field and see what a Super Bowl trophy looks like. You'll never see that with the Vikings. All right. We have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor and wisdom that complement Rotary's mission. We also ask celebrants to make a gift to the Synergy Scholarship Fund. February 18th is past President Dave Iwanowski shares this from Stephen Wright. I kept a diary right after I was born. Day 1, tired from the move. Day 2, everyone thinks I'm an idiot. Thank you, Dave. February 20th, Grace Chosey. February 23rd, Vicki Enright. February 24th, Dave Ettinger. Let's give thanks to our celebrants for making their gifts to the foundation and wish them a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you. Great, thank you. Thanks, Casey. Just one brief member in the news, Oscar Morales, was quoted in Madison 365, titled Latinos Organizing for Understanding and Development, hosting a Women's History Month art exhibition. I encourage you to go see it. All right, and our speaker is here. Moving on, we'll go on to our program. In July, Milwaukee will host the Republican National Presidential Nominating Convention, and there will be tens of thousands of delegates and guests in attendance. Today, Alison Prange, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Milwaukee 2024 Host Committee, is our speaker. Alison's career has been built at the intersection of politics and policy. She launched her career working in and around Capitol Hill. Since then, she's led major public policy initiatives on behalf of the American Cancer Society, served as the president of the Henry Vilas Zoological Society, and most recently served as the Vice President for External Relations at Ballotopedia. Alison will talk with us about Milwaukee's 2024 Host Committee's role in welcoming a major global event to Wisconsin and how the convention will impact the state. Alison, we look forward to your presentation, and we have made a gift in your honor to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund. We will have time for Q&A, I understand, where our microphones will come to you, and we ask that not the same people raise your hand every week. Let's get some other people asking thoughtful questions, and so they will come to you. With that, let's welcome Alison.
Charles, thank you. It's great to see you.
Thank you, everybody. It's great to be here. And I can't tell you how much I miss Madison and miss this Rotary Club. For those of you that don't know, I was a Rotarian, but a little over 3 years ago, we moved just down the road to Milwaukee. My daughter's finishing high school this year, but Madison's always home. It's her hometown, and we talk about that every time we visit. So thank you for having me here today. I didn't know I'd be here talking about a convention 4 years ago, but here I am. And it's really fun. My job, I think I will say, is one of the most fun jobs I've had, which is hard to believe when you think about zoos and working for the American Cancer Society and Coaches versus Cancer, but this is. And I know that might seem strange in a world that's so polarized. But the simple fact of the matter is the Milwaukee Host Committee is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. It's about Wisconsin, it's about Milwaukee, and it's about showcasing us to the world, something you're going to hear me talk about as I go through this presentation. And again, happy to take questions at the end, but just really wanted to thank you all for being here and listening to me today. And to kick off my presentation, I'm going to ask Jane for help going to the next slide and hitting play.
Milwaukee has a story to tell. We work hard, we play hard, and we love our community. From our fresh coast to our vibrant downtown, we're excited to show the world what we offer when we welcome the Republican National Convention in 2024.
Our history runs deep. We're known for our breweries and our bikes, cheese, Cream City, brick, but there's a lot more.
Our people are what makes us. They're hardworking, they're tough and smart. Companies that call Milwaukee home are industry leaders on the cutting edge of innovation.
Our city is one of the best places in the country to work, live, play, and learn.
Milwaukee is a city waiting to be explored with world-class restaurants, some of the best sports teams around, and venues that are state-of-the-art. When you visit Milwaukee, we know you'll come back.
And in the summer of 2024, we're making history again.
Be part of our story. Join us at the Milwaukee 2024 Republican National Convention.
If you don't mind, I'm going to have to ask, Jane's offered to help me today in forwarding the slides to go to the next slide. And so I love that video. I hope you guys did too. I think it gives you a great introduction to the role of the Milwaukee Host Committee and to some of the corporate and civic leaders who've joined our team. I can't say enough about Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson. If you haven't met him, you should. He is fantastic, as is David Crawley, the county executive. Without them, Milwaukee wouldn't be hosting this convention. And it makes me excited about the opportunity when I see that video also, that we have to showcase Milwaukee, but also the whole state. This hotel, actually, and I'm looking at the hotel's manager back in the corner of the room. There you go, shout out. It's going to play host. Madison's going to play host to delegates and guests that are coming to the convention. And we should be excited about that because that's going to have an economic impact in the city that you wouldn't have appreciated otherwise. The hotels here have been fantastic to work with. It also reminds me when I see that video, and it's hard to believe, is that the convention is just 144 days away today. 144 days away from welcoming 50,000 visitors to Wisconsin. including 15,000, get ready for this, global media, elected officials and delegates from 50 states and 6 territories, as well as many other visitors who come from around the world, the diplomatic corps, a large number of people. All eyes are going to be on Wisconsin. And for those of you that don't know, there are 2 organizations responsible for putting on the convention. The one I work for, which is the Milwaukee Host Committee, the nonprofit, I'm going to keep saying it because we keep saying it in Milwaukee as well, nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. And then the RNC's committee, which is the Committee on Arrangements. And we work together, and they're doing the same thing in Chicago, just down the road, as they get ready for their convention in August at the DNC. And it's kind of funny, it's kind of amazing that the spotlight is going to be on 90 miles along a Great Lake on a fresh coast, not the East Coast or the West Coast. And in terms of the host committee, one of the questions we're also asked is, what does the host committee do? How is your role different than the RNC, the political part of the organization? You know, the 501c3 is obvious. We're different. If you'd like to write a check, we're nonprofit, tax deductible. And another, I gotta mention it wouldn't be, I'm sorry, I know Rotary's rules. But another way to think about that is how we're so different is like to think about the Hollywood analogy that we use all over the place, the producer and the director. The host committee is really the producer of the show. The job is to raise money, sign the contracts, get the infrastructure in place, and then you hand it over to the director. They're responsible for what happens in the buildings that hold the convention. They're responsible for directing that show. They're responsible for all of those things that go into welcoming those guests. But we're here to help along the way and to also make sure that we talk about our city and our state. Because 15,000 media, what better way to sell Wisconsin? And when I talk about the producer's role, if you want to go to the next slide, you know, that raising the money is a key point. We have to raise at least $68 million, and we are ahead of track of any other host committee that in recent times. We're doing great, but there's always more money. I know there's a lot of people that work for nonprofits that attend Rotary and lead them. There's always more money to raise because it really is a nonprofit effort. We're lucky also to have a board of directors led by our chairman, Reince Priebus. People are used to seeing him as political, but in this way, he's a hometown boy. He's from Kenosha. This is about leading the effort to help Wisconsin. We also have Ted Kellner, a philanthropist and businessman who's on our board, and then our finance committee chairman is John Schlifsky, who obviously is also the chairman and CEO of Northwestern Mutual Life. We're lucky we have them working with us to lead the way. And when people donate to us, they're donating because they're donating back towards helping have an economic impact on Milwaukee and Wisconsin. We anticipate an over $200 million impact on our region. And something that the host committee has been focused on and is working on is that driving that economic impact. I mentioned that with hotels. We mentioned that with working with businesses. And as I mentioned, less than 150 days away, we have a countdown in our office that I try to not look at. The official convention kicks off on July 14th in Milwaukee. It's going to be an amazing opportunity for us and a once-in-a-generation opportunity. I think I was talking to Kate about that as I came in, because it's probably not going to come back. They don't come back to cities on repeat. And we also say that once-in-a-generation opportunity because of the economic impact that we know happens. I talked to our counterparts in Cleveland who hosted the last in-person Republican National Convention in 2016. They think that there's a 10-year, basically, runway to take advantage of the impact because of a convention. They aren't quite at takeoff when you think about that being 8 years ago. So if you visualize it, we're rolling out on the taxiway and we're getting ready to take off. Milwaukee was already on a great trajectory. This is just going to help increase that, and so is Wisconsin. And I know I'm talking to Madison, and I know what a great state, the city this is, and how much is going on here that captures the attention not only of the state, but of people across the country. Want to go to the next slide? It's a Milwaukee story. You just heard that a little bit in our video. It's one we hope to tell the world. We want to highlight the things that are, I'm not going to read the slide, as you saw in the video, but we also want to showcase our companies, our universities, and we have a fabulous one here. I'm an alum. I'm guilty of a Badger. Also cheer for Marquette because they are great for Milwaukee and they're great for Wisconsin. The business leaders joined because of the impact they know this convention will have. And we know that the tremendous opportunity that you get from 50,000 visitors, but 15,000 media, is something that we're going to enjoy for years to come. And the thing I'm also excited, and I'm going to mention this, for those of you that don't know, I'm a native of Miami, Florida, not of Wisconsin. I call Wisconsin home. I'm a proud Badger. A lot of people still don't know where we are. I don't know how many of you experience that in this room, or they don't quite know. Like north of Chicago, people say. This is going to hopefully change that a little bit more and remind people that when they're looking for a great place to move their company, a great place for vacation, we're here. We're a lot less expensive than Chicago, and we're a very easy place to get. And I do miss the Madison airport because it is a great place to fly out of. Have to mention that. Can I go to the next slide? And I think your airport will get used also that week of the convention, July 14th and 19th, as people travel to the state. So the convention puts us on a global stage. And it's that once-in-a-generation opportunity that I talk about. Has anybody here ever attended one? DNC, RNC? Victor, it's great to see. They're fun. They are one big party, and sorry if somebody raised their hand over here. And it's a chance for us to showcase the state again. And one of the things I want to mention about this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with Wisconsin on the global stage is we need a lot of volunteers, which I'll talk about, because those volunteers will help have an impact on the global stage. Because the way you're greeted when you visit a city or a state makes a difference in your perception when you leave. And so when we talk about that global stage and the impact we hope to have, I just want to mention that we're looking for about 6,000 volunteers. And as everybody knows too, this is Milwaukee's second chance and Wisconsin's second chance to welcome a convention. The DNC would have been held in 2020 in Milwaukee. And like so many things, unfortunately, Milwaukee lost that opportunity because of COVID. And so this is a way for us to have that second kick of the can. And because of the mayor of Milwaukee, because of Visit Milwaukee and its CEO, Peggy Williams-Smith, and David Crowley, they saw an opportunity they didn't want to let go by because they know the impact this will have. And so we were able to win this opportunity, and I'm able to stand here and talk about it. And speaking of that global stage, I'm going to mention those media numbers. Imagine this is 4 Super Bowls in a row. And also imagine the infrastructure that goes into 1 Super Bowl. We're planning for 4. When you think of 4 nights of a convention, not including our opening party. It really is the biggest week of politics in July, and then there will be another biggest week in politics in August of 2024. The average of 25 million viewers a night, we expect that for us, and they expect that in Chicago as well. Before I go to the next slide. And so the Republican National Convention, what does it look like? It will start that night of the 14th. It says the 15th because that's the first night of official proceedings with the big opening party where we hope to showcase the Badger State. We are going to give a Wisconsin welcome and offer a postcard to the world about our state. And so we're just beginning that planning, and we're excited about it. We'll welcome those thousands of guests to this region, and I'm excited about mentioning again the hotels, which will be scattered around southeast and south central Wisconsin. We've kept all of the hotels in the state of Wisconsin because of the impact it can have on the economy. We don't want people going into Illinois and spending money. We want them to spend the money here. So we're going to do that. They'll make money in August. And so what do the days look like? They vary greatly. There are lots of social events. I'm not going to put Victor on the spot, but you can start the day with a delegation breakfast. Lots of companies, lots of delegations host lunches. There are all kinds of official proceedings and unofficial proceedings at hundreds of venues that we'll take over and use during the week. The hotels again as well. Each night the convention will kick off on national TV, usually about 7 o'clock Central. That's the RNC's purview, not the host committees. And then they have parties afterwards. The bar time is extended to 4 a.m. Watch out. But when you think about business impact, that's awesome. You've got a captive audience that's going to be there looking for things to do, looking to spend money. And they don't just drink. So officially that programming kicks off. And an interesting point I wanted to make about the convention that I didn't know, and I'm going to mention this on this slide, is the fact that there are NSSC designated events. Does anybody know what those are? I didn't either. It's a national security designated event. There are 4 of them in the country. The first of those is the Super Bowl. Just happened. The Secret Service, and what that means is the Secret Service is in charge of the security. Obviously, it's a big consideration. Again, not something in the host committee's purview. It's in the purview of the Secret Service to run this, and the Milwaukee Police Department and all the other police departments they interface with. But then also the Republican Convention, the Democratic National Convention, and last but not least, the presidential inauguration. So there's only 4 events like this of their kind where the Secret Service runs the security. So it's going to be one of the safest places on earth that week. If you want to go to the next slide. And then our website, I wanted to show this off. It has the countdown again. I tend not to go to the front page. And I was late partly because this is like for anybody that's worked on a political campaign, it's like working on a campaign. It is hours and hours every day, and I wouldn't change it for the world because of the impact we think we're going to have. And it is fun. But I wanted to show this website because if you want information or curious about what's going on, it's a great resource. The city of Milwaukee has one as well that's more focused on the things they're working on. And so does the RNC. This talks about our vendors, our venues, and how to volunteer. And it also has updates and our press and all the information that's going out. You can sign up for a newsletter if you want to. I promise it's not spam. It goes out once a month. But it is a way to find out. And we have different newsletters targeted at volunteers, at businesses, and then just people that are interested. If you want to go to the next slide. One of the things that we're most excited about, again, is that business impact, because that's one of the agreements we made with the City of Milwaukee and the RNC and the host committee. That by hosting us, we were going to work to drive business impact in the community and in the region. And one of the ways that we dreamed up doing that was by developing what we call our vendor portal, because we needed to find a way to get all the companies and businesses that wanted to do business with the convention to submit their information that we can turn around and give to the RNC and their 50,000 visitors. So they can push this out so people have a one-stop shop for doing business locally. So last year, in April, at Sherman Phoenix on Milwaukee's north side, we kicked off, along with Mayor Cavalier Johnson and Peggy Williams-Smith, our vendor connection drive. So starting at 0, we had 0 businesses. We're now well over 2,000. It's exciting to say, and not that we're comparing ourselves, because the DNC obviously was along the way in their planning. We've gotten thanks from them because we've been able to far exceed what they were able to do in the time that they were working. And so that's a huge compliment because all of us, whatever the party, all we care about, and the mayor of Milwaukee says this is the color of green. We want, I think it's a great line, you want economic impact if you're going to have this in your city and your state. So that's we started that, and if we want to go to the next slide. It can talk about the vendor directory specifically. So we took all of that information that was private facing, got permission from everybody that wanted to be public, and created this vendor directory. And we're using it all the time. We use it. Other businesses use it. Somebody from my school, daughter's school, called and asked how they found buses for prom. And I'm like, use our vendor directory because it truly is a one-stop shop. And something that we didn't anticipate was the fact that business-to-business communication doesn't happen because you get stuck in your geography, you get stuck in your lane. I think we all know that. I'm guilty of that. And it's created some conversation and opportunity to work together, which again is important when you talk about business opportunity and economic impact. So this directory lives on our website. We continue to add to it. So if you have a business or know of a business that wants to be a part of it, there are a variety of businesses. There's everything. I believe there's a dentist in there because when you go to a convention, what happens with a toothache, you don't know who to call. I was questioning why a dentist submitted, but that is a very good point. It's got florists. It's got any kind of business that you can really think of. And so, again, wanted to make this easy for visitors so when they think about Wisconsin, they think about how great it was. And, there's hundreds of organizations that will come in, a part of those 50,000 guests. They set up they build out media sets. They take over a venue and build out their set for the week. And there's a lot of things that happen that you wouldn't see unless you were living and breathing this every day. It's interesting. It's like moving this, it just is doubling the size of a city. Not quite, but just adding so much population and so much infrastructure. It really is a great opportunity for people in Milwaukee. And so while the convention will be over in July, the other thing we're going to do, and I talk about this so much because we're excited about this, the mayor has been very excited about this, is because we continue to work with the RNC to have impact. We also want to take this directory and we'll hand it over to Visit Milwaukee. And we'll give it to other companies like Northwestern Mutual Life who host major conventions, not the same size yet as the RNC, but hopefully after this. And they will use it. And that's great because we want, while we don't guarantee business, we do want to help facilitate opportunities. If we want to go to the next slide. And so volunteering, this is the next major thing that we're working on. We have to fill about 8,000 shifts of volunteers. A lot of those are concentrated in Milwaukee, but there are also going to be opportunities here. There are going to be opportunities in other cities like Lake Geneva and Sheboygan, where people will visit and stay. And so we're working across the state to recruit volunteers. And again, I talked about why that's such an important reason, because it's how you experience a city. We want real people that live here to be able to talk to the people that are visiting. And next week, we will, along with the mayor, announce the kickoff of our volunteer campaign. And we're working right now on gathering names. We'd love your help. And I want to remind you again, I say it so much, nonprofit, nonpartisan. Our volunteers aren't involved in the politics of the convention. We're involved in the outside of the convention. We're involved in making this a great experience for the RNC, its guests, its visitors, its delegates. And we're about Wisconsin. And it's so important to be able to showcase our state. And so we'll give you an easy way to volunteer in a slide also. Actually, if you want to jump to the next one, I think the other thing I want to show you, we started at 0. We are at 1,000, actually like 1,040 volunteers as of yesterday without going public. And Renee, I'm looking at you because capital campaigns, you never announce until you've got half of the money. So we're a little ahead of ourselves, but we are announcing this because it's so important and the time is now to get people to sign up. We're working with school groups because being able to have a front row seat to a convention and why you have them is a great lesson. It doesn't have to be political, but I think for kids to understand why they happen, it's important. Like, why do you have a convention? Well, because each of those parties pick their platforms at those conventions. It's a great way for us to be able to show the next generation why it's important to pay attention. And so that's our goal, and I think we can go to the next slide. That is our QR code, which Alyssa and our team put together. If anybody wants to grab a shot, I will not say no. And if you don't and you want to go to our website, please do. And please consider it. I know you're in Madison. I know it's not Milwaukee, but we need help. And this is about the state. It's about the region. And if we go to the next slide, I'm going to hit on it again, the historic opportunity we see. That $200 million economic impact I mentioned. And the impact we hope to have on our city, the region, and the state, because it will provide a global audience with a taste of Wisconsin. Not just a place that we love for great food, great beer, and great sports, but a place where people want to work, live, and play, and go to school. The host committee is hard at work with our partners, not just in Milwaukee, but around the state, as we get ready to welcome 50,000 plus visitors. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Like I said, it means a lot because I love this Rotary, and it's great to see so many friendly faces, and I'm happy to take questions.
Oh, you hold. I have to get used to that. I'm Ann Neviser.
Hi, Ann.
We have the DoubleTree in downtown Milwaukee. Looking forward.
Thank you for saying that, Ann.
Does the Secret Service have to vet all of the volunteers?
That's something that they'll talk about. That's not something that we'll talk about. They're in charge of the security.
But I just want to make sure that volunteers feel comfortable.
You know what I can say about that, and I know that actually I think there was a press conference this morning about it. You should feel like you're very comfortable with this. The Secret Service, when they're running something, again, like when I say it's the safest place on earth, it is, I feel it is the safest place on earth. Or if they have a female lead here in Wisconsin for the convention, they're going to do an outstanding job. I feel very excited and confident about them. But they can talk to that more. Hey,
Gary Peterson. I was wondering, what would you say was two of the top reasons that Milwaukee got selected?
I heard they put on an amazing show at their pitch in Salt Lake City. I think they picked it because it's it's a great city. And when you think about the last place they hosted a convention, Cleveland in 2016, it's about the people, it's about the venues, and Milwaukee did a great job selling itself.
Hi, Allison.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
It's great to see you.
Can you speak a little bit about the kinds of opportunities there are to volunteer? Like, what are you talking about?
Well, we're still coming up with job descriptions. This is a political campaign. I keep saying that. And so I feel like we do things and we need them. We do need them, like, coming up quickly because we're running out of, not running out of time, but it's a finite period of time. I can't put anything off. So we'll have job descriptions. A lot of it is greeting, direction, wayfinding. Some of it is transportation and acting as a transportation volunteer, which might, involve helping shuttle people around. There are more roles that will come, and that's the RNC's direction, because they have to look at the whole footprint of the show and direct it. But we will have more information. And so if you check back on our website or sign up for the newsletter, not spam, it will give that to you. And you can always reach out to me.
Hi, Allison. Joe McNeil. Obviously, a big deal for Milwaukee.
Yes.
Really puts it in a global perspective. What else is going on before and after as far as Brewers, Summerfest? How else is the city going to be showcased?
Well, Milwaukee is going to be live, and it's going to be a great summer for Milwaukee, and that's a huge credit to Visit Milwaukee and to the mayor. Next summer we've got Summerfest with huge acts. I think actually Kenny Chesney is coming into AmFam Field before that. The Brewers are out of town the week of the convention because of the All-Star game week. They do have a Sunday game that week, but we obviously are in contact with them a lot. And then you also have Northwestern Mutual's summer meeting, which they have annually, which brings in 10,000 people to Milwaukee. And Ann maybe knows that because I'm sure they use every hotel. And then lastly, not least, is Harley's got their anniversary ride that they will do. And so the Milwaukee, Madison are going to be busy cities because it's a great place to be. So, and add in 50,000 visitors that aren't usually there. It's going to be a fun summer. Any other questions?
Hello, Allison.
Hi.
I'm fortunate in that my daughter will be living in Milwaukee this summer, so I'm hoping to be able to get over there and see some of the festivities because I've done it before and it's really exciting. So for the people that are working downtown, and this may be a security issue, do you have any insight in how all that logistics works?
We'll have more insight in the coming weeks, and the Secret Service really is in charge, and they're in charge of how everything looks, and so they will speak to that, and that is their purview. But I also know that they work, and the host committee, the Secret Service, and the city are all trying to outward focus and talk to everybody that we can, and that they work to make sure that business is not interfered with. And if you live in the middle of that, they talk to you. And so I can say that, and there will be more information to come. I don't want to sound evasive, but there's just not information yet.
Great. Hi, Allison. So question for you about, you said there's a runway, right, for how long do we get to take advantage of this economic impact? What's the role of the host committee in making sure that we continue to see that impact for Wisconsin as a whole? And can you just say a little, Cleveland is a great example, but can you say more about that runway over time?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is Visit Milwaukee, which, and not to put it just on Peggy, and the businesses. You've got to take what you have and then go and sell it beyond where we leave it, because the host committees don't exist forever. That's not the way they work. Super Bowl packs it up after a year, or after a little over a year, and they already are thinking about this. The goal is, it would be great to have an NBA All-Star game. You've got to have the Milwaukee Bucks pushing and driving that, and they've been terrific to work work with the folks at the Fiserv Forum. They see the opportunity. The Brewers can pursue an all-star game. I mean, all of those things. And so we measure that by studies. The host committee often does a study, but an external study also by Visit Milwaukee is something that will probably happen. And then taking things like that list that we've developed and things like that that maybe aren't measurable, so to speak, there aren't metrics for it, it will live on, and there will have to be some, people will talk about it, but if you talk to Cleveland, they just talk about new hotels being built because of the need, because the convention size, the convention desire has grown, and I think that's the hope. So hopefully that answers your question, Sarah. Thanks.
Raise your hand, Mr. President.
Charles McClymans. Thank you for being here, Alison. I was reading an interesting article yesterday, and can you talk about will the convention have cell phone service?
I hope so. Actually, maybe I don't hope so. It'd be really hard to find me. No, I mean, I can't imagine any challenges with that, and that's, producing the show. That's something that the RNCs and everybody in the city of Milwaukee, because obviously everybody needs cell phone service. And so that I would defer that, to the city of Milwaukee and to other organizations working on this. But I also know that we're in touch with a lot of the companies, because traditionally a lot of them support host committees. And I will say that all the Fortune 500 companies in Milwaukee support the Milwaukee Host Committee. But I think to answer your question, there will be more information. So I didn't see that article. I'm going to have to Google.
The dispute between Verizon and the Bucks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I think everybody's hoping that everything will work out. So it usually does in the end. So. All right. Thank you again. Thank you, Charles. Yeah. It was great to be here. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Very interesting opportunities for service, right? For volunteer service, for Rotarians. So thanks so much for being here with us, Alison. Next week, we will hear from Lindsay Christians, who will talk with us about Top Chef in Madison, another important show that's highlighting all of the wonderful culinary aspects of Wisconsin. So another boost to our state. So we hope you can all come back next week and join us again. With that, before we adjourn, please stand and we will recite the Rotary four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? We are adjourned.